Hey everyone, this is Bob Martin, the RC sub guy with the Nautilus Drydocks.com, and I have another project to share with you. This is a British boat. I think it's pretty cool. I want to share with you how it's all put together and walk through installation of the boat and how it performed on the pond. So let's get started. All right, what we have here is a Trafalgar class submarine in 1/64th scale. This was originally put out by a company called Sheerline out of the UK, and Sheerline kind of went away, and that product line has been assumed by Matt Beck of Beck's Models over in the UK, and you can actually purchase this kit on the dry docks if you find you like what you are about to see. The neat thing about these kits is they have a tremendous amount of detail. We'll show that to you in a little bit. Every anechoic tile has been rendered in this hull. It's all fiberglass, measures 54 inches long with a 6.3 inch beam. This particular boat was one that I took in quasi-started condition from an estate for a gentleman who had unfortunately passed away in Chicago, Illinois. I finally had the chance to get it all finished up. This is now completely done, tested, trimmed, and ready for its new owner. It will be heading across the pond here very shortly. So let's show you a little bit more about the boat, some more details on the hull, and most importantly get into the technical aspect of it so you can see how it all works. So I love taking on projects from people who are exceptionally detail oriented, because what I find is nothing lacking in regard to reference material and supplemental materials for the boat. This particular one comes with a couple of sets of drawings, which are very, very cool. And additionally, it comes with two binders of reference material with notes in here about what he wanted to do, previous builds by other people, and more so a lot of reference material on the actual HMS Talent with complete records, details, full instructions, all completely laminated and put together in these binders. So note for anybody who is going to be undertaking this project, start yourself a binder. Put all your reference materials in there so that you'll be able to go back to them. But hey, it might help with the value of your boat if and when you ever decide to sell it down the road. All right, as you can see there, as Jason pans over the boat, you can see all of these striped anechoic tiles. The master pattern looks like it was wrapped in styrene that was all scribed to get all of those details. It's really, really cool. Adds a lot of visual interest to the boat. We repainted it, so we have like a base black finish. And we did some weathering and streaking just lightly, just to give that indication of a boat that has been at sea and not just fresh out of the boat yard. It has a non-skid pattern up on the top. And we put a water line on it, just a little bit of marine growth underneath the water line and a scum line where that marine growth likes to accumulate. Access to the hull is exceptionally easy. I'm actually really happy in how this turned out. There's a single bolt, a stainless bolt that comes out. You need no tools. You can open it with your fingers. The entire upper hull slides forward about an inch, and then you just lift it off. And the whole secret to that, you'll be able to see in the front here, there's a notched tab, and that goes under this retaining clip right here. And because this is adjustable, you can adjust to the tension that it has on that upper hull. What we're looking at here now is a highly modified Sheerline cylinder. Traditionally, these would all be the same PVC plastic pipe where you would have no visibility to the interior components. The rear compartment, the motor compartment, is basically unaltered from how I got it. We've got two big full-sized servos in there and a 40 amp electronic speed controller underneath. And then we've got a fairly beefy motor there that powers the whole thing. The central ballast tank is completely enclosed. This is a pressure ballast system, so the way it works, basically a water pump pumps water into this sealed ballast tank, which fills it with water, compresses the air. So you get about 60 to 70% of usage out of the ballast tank. Moving forward is where most of the modifications took place. We've got a new receiver that's paired up to the VEX 6 channel radio. Got a failsafe system, the BLM failsafe system. So this monitors the signal strength from the transmitter, and in case of loss of signal will blow ballast, and if the battery gets depleted it will blow ballast and then lock the ballast out so that you cannot submerge. I upgraded the pump to traditionally the Sheerline used a centrifugal pump, which only really allows you to fill it to about 40 to 50%. This is a high output gear pump that runs through a solenoid valve underneath, and that allows us to use much more of the volume of this particular boat. Looking up in the front here, we've got a test tube, and this is not like the beaker, not from chemistry class, but a tube that allows you to test. I put this in place so that you can take the cylinder, drop it into a bathtub or a swimming pool, uncap the end, blow into it, and look for bubbles. That's vitally important pre-mission to make sure that you don't have any leaks before you put it in the water. The entire bottle is powered by this big 5 amp hour nickel metal hydride battery pack that tucks really neatly just underneath the bow plane assembly there, and that connects just like this. Connection, for those of you who are looking for an easy way of doing this kind of thing, the linkage just makes up just like that. You can use a wheel collar, it will do the same thing, and it allows for some flexibility in terms of adjusting things so that you can get everything perfect as you get it all connected. You'll notice here, just a little hint for everyone, I'm using a standard Dean's connector, and this is the way it came when I got it. It works fine, but you'll want to use some silicone grease, some dielectric grease actually, to make sure that you don't get any corrosion on those leads. Installation and removal is very, very easy. 2 strips of Velcro. You just slip that back, make sure all of your linkages are disconnected. And you grab it here and the whole thing just lifts right out, just like that. So you can see the pump assembly in the front, and you can see the solenoid valve that controls and shuts off the flow of water to and from the ballast tank there. Very simple inside, 2 big strips of lead for ballast in the bottom. It's a very stable boat. Performs very well. We did some additional trimming using some self-adhesive weights in the back there. The connection, just want to make sure you see this, is a dog bone style connection. So that means there's no physical fastener that you need to put together to get the drive shaft connected. It just simply mates up with this dog bone adapter, just like that. So nice and simple, very easy to install and remove the cylinder. It's a very, very robust ballast tank. Sheerline has been doing this for years. The OTW ballast systems are very, very similar to this as well. And again, the big differentiator there is the pressure ballast system. The key, of course, being that high output gear pump and solenoid, which are not cheap. You need to make sure you get the right ones, but they work really, really well. All right, I want to talk a little bit more about this cylinder. There are some things that you need to make sure that you are aware of for this style of cylinder. Now, this has 4 shafts, and they run down the outside, and these are what put tension on the seal. It seals on the face of this tubing. Because there's 4, you need to make sure that each one of these is torqued down exactly the same amount. So you'll be able to feel it as you torque these nuts down. You want to make sure that they're all equally tightened so that you don't have an off centered or offside cap that could potentially allow for leaks. This uses bellows seals, which is also very, very common in the OTW and Sheerline and Engel watertight cylinders. They take pressure really well, which is a good thing. And they used another one here to protect the connection for the main power. You'll notice that only the positive is protected because it's only the positive that will actually get corrosion or oxidization if there is a current that goes in between the terminals. Now, one thing that I do want to mention with this particular boat, because of the way that it's set up, and again, the OTW cylinders are the same way, you need to connect both the front and the back of this line at the same time and get the cap on. So the whole secret to that is to get the tray in place, put the hose in place, put the tube in place, and then push the end cap down, snuggling it over that cap, and it'll push itself onto there. It takes practice. You will be frustrated, but that is kind of the way that it is set up. I've had some ideas to make a separate extended bulkhead in there that would allow for things to be a lot easier, but I just haven't had the time or need to create something like that as of yet. But you know, other than that, this is exceptionally easy to use and very simple. So highly recommend this style of cylinder. Works really well for this boat and anything that's big. These are 4.3 inches in diameter. Obviously you need a big boat to put them in. All right, let's show you a little bit about how everything works inside, all the linkages going, make sure that we prove to you that everything is fully functional. I'm going to turn on our transmitter, and basically to turn the boat on, you just simply connect the power. Now, because this is a big boat and because the pump and the motor tend to draw a lot of current, don't recommend a remote on-off switch for this particular boat. Those are typically rated at 10 to 15 amps, and if those were to blow in the middle of the pond, you'd be marooned. So this is a little bit more robust fail-safe to go in there, and it does have a fuse in there to make sure that nothing untoward happens in case of short circuit. But everything is now connected. We'll start at the front. We've got our forward dive planes. We've got lots of throw on there, which is exactly what we want to see. We can head to the back of the boat. We've got our rudder. Again, lots of deflection there. Ideally, you want to shoot for 30 degrees for maximum performance. On channel 6, we've got our rear dive plane override. Again, lots and lots of deflection there. And you're going to note there is an automatic pitch controller on there. As I move the boat up, those planes deflect upwards to bring it back into neutral, and the same thing happens if I tilt it in the other direction. Since you're back there, we're going to take a look at that beautiful propeller. Forward and reverse. And then, of course, the last thing is the pump. Forward and back. And you don't want to run this pump dry. The water serves to lubricate the pump, so you want to make sure that you don't run it for more than a couple of seconds. But there you go. You can see that battery and link monitor's got the full charge indicated on there. It will also blink if there is a loss of signal event. And I can simulate that right now. Hopefully this works. I'm going to turn the transmitter off. And we should hear the pump kick on in a minute. There we go. There we go. So failsafe works after, I think it's 4 seconds. It'll begin to blow ballast, bring the boat back up to the surface where you can retain or regain communication with the transmitter. So there you go. Simple as that. This is a beautiful boat. It works really well, particularly submerged. From an operational perspective, like most modern boats, this is not going to turn on a dime while surfaced. Of course, that being the case because when surfaced, half of your rudder is not in the water anymore. So you're only working with half of your yaw inducing control surfaces. So probably on the surface, I'm going to say you're going to be looking at about a 30-foot diameter turning radius. But once this gets under the water, it's probably going to get cut down to something more like 15 or 17 feet. So much more fun to operate when it's submerged. Full diving, full filling the ballast tank probably takes a good 30 to 45 seconds, which for a boat of this scale is about normal. And it's exactly what you want. You don't want things to happen too quickly. It gives you a really precise control of the ballast tank, so you can adjust your buoyancy with the transmitter to get it exactly where you want. Maintains periscope depth really well. Typical kind of one-handed operation once you get it all dialed in. It's not a speed demon, but it'll put up a pretty good wake. It's a big boat and it's moving a lot of water. I've talked a lot about its performance. Let's show you guys how it did. We brought it out to the pond there a couple of days ago. Took some video. Take a look at it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to leave you right now. My name is Bob Martin, the RC sub guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. Thanks a lot for joining me. If you have any questions, please email me anytime, bob@rc-sub.com. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you next time.